Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have an amazing show lined up. Our first guest is Jacqueline Way. She's here today to talk to us about her TED Talk that went viral, How to Be Happy Every Day, and also her foundation, 365 Give. So let's welcome to the show, Jacqueline.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Oh, what a joy it is to have you here. Now, I became familiar with you through your TED Talk that you did, and I have to ask you, it was your TED Talk was How to Be Happy Every Day. And so it really, piqued my curiosity. And I have to ask you, what inspired you to develop this topic?
Well, I think the best way to describe it would be my son. I have three beautiful little boys, and one of them, when he was 3 years old, I decided I wanted to do a personal parenting project with him, something that we would remember for years to come, and something that would instill some values in him that I think as parents, we forget to do at times. And I really wanted to teach my child how to be a kind and generous and giving person. It was something that was kind of innately part of who I was and the business that I had done for a lot of years in my life. And I thought if there was something I wanted to teach my kid, I wanted to teach him the ideas of philanthropy at a young age. And the neat thing about it is that when you teach your children how to give, it makes them happy. And that's kind of where the title of the talk came from, is How to Be Happy Every Day. It will change the world. Because when you give back to the world, it actually makes you happy.
Yeah. There's that certain, from a chemical, biological standpoint, there are certain things that happen. I was really shocked when you talked about the amount of children and adults that are suffering from anxiety, depression, and conduct disorders.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. The World Happiness Report, and they update this study every year, and it's a report that's done by researchers from all over the world, and they gauge, and most people have heard of this report, they gauge the happiest places in the world and countries in the world. And one of the things that they have discovered, and they actually have the ability through their research, is they gauge the stress and anxiety and depression that happens amongst humans in the world. And, over 220 million children and 1 billion adults suffer from these disorders. And they literally are disorders because it freezes people in their world and in their lives. And it was amazing when I discovered this because it was that perfect tie-in to what we do with 365 Give, and giving is actually hardwired in your body. So it changes the way your brain literally works. It increases your serotonin, which is your happy hormone in your body, and it decreases your cortisol, which is your stress hormone in your body. So when you take these two combinations of reducing your stress and increasing your happiness by giving back to the world or by altruistic behaviors, it's amazing to think that we could all change the way our body chemistry is working by giving back to the world every day.
Well, and I have to really applaud you because, a mom with 3 boys, you could have chosen any number of things. It could have been like a mud adventure, and
just so you're clear.
Because I know young boys are constantly keeping their mothers very busy. So, you could have chosen a number of things to go ahead and move forward with, but you chose this. And so it's really kind of grown into this phenomenon that, people are getting involved with you and it's becoming more of a community than just what it started off with being your blog.
Well, it really, and this is the part that's been to my surprise, just so we're all very clear, is, when I started this project with my son, we were hoping maybe we might inspire some friends and family that they would join along with us and start doing some daily giving activities as well along with us. So we were remarkably surprised that when I started the blog to record our journey, and it was very much for my son. I thought that one day it would be a nice way for him to look back and see this adventure that we had together. And we were amazed when people really start engaged from all over the world. And that part is the part that even today still surprises me, of how quickly people started finding our blog. I was doing some social media around it as well. And the growth was surprising. And we realized that, and it wasn't kids that were reaching out to us, it was grown-ups that were reaching out to us. And we soon discovered that there was a real need for people who were looking for more in their life. You know, not everybody has time to volunteer for hours upon hours every week, or donate large sums of money, or even small sums of money for that matter. And this was a way, and it gave people a platform to share as what I call a global community, where we could share our daily giving ideas, and create this ripple effect that started happening. And we saw more and more people engaging in just small, easy ways of giving back to the world that affected whether it was their own community or the people in their community or just in their family or their neighbors for that matter. But it made them feel as though they were making a contribution to the world around them. And it's a need I'm seeing more and more, where people just want something they can grab onto, hold on to, and feel like they're part of something that's bigger, that will make a bigger impact when we join together as a global community.
I think most people strive to leave an impact or leave a legacy, you know, and if it's helping one person or helping to feed one person or whatever the case is, it really impacts both people in such a positive way. So I've got to ask you too, with 365 Give, what is the main mission and purpose of your organization?
So 365 Give, our mission is pretty simple. Our mission is to change the world one give, one day at a time.
Oh, that's not a big deal.
It's not a deal. You know,
that's actually, I'm joking, being sarcastic. That's actually pretty impressive, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, we believe that change starts small. And, you know, when you start on a mission to change the world, and it's actually a funny story, because the first time I ever told somebody that was the mission for 365 Give and what I wanted to do with my son, he literally looked at me and said, "Do you have to change the whole world? Can't you just change one little part? Can't you just make a donation somewhere?" And, you know, it's a big dream of mine that I've had. And it was something that I felt if we could get a younger generation of people, the people that have more time. You know, as adults, we are so busy with our jobs and our families and all the responsibilities that we have. But I thought, you know, there's this younger generation that has the freedom of time. And if we could get them more involved with giving back to the world, that if it's not just one child, it's not just my son Nick, and it's not just me, and it's 10 other people or 30 other people or 2,000 other people that were in the TED audience when I spoke, you know, and now 300,000 people that have watched the TED Talk. You know, we see that as we gather the momentum and more people want to join and more people start giving every day, that's where we start to make a big impact. So it's not one person starting a charity that's going to feed everybody in Africa, but it's all of us every day doing something that starts to create this tipping point of change.
Now, when you guys decide, okay, these are the different projects or ways that we're going to give or donate, it could be time, energy, money, whatever the case is, who decides that? Is that you? Is it your son? Is it something you guys collaborate on?
You know, we always look at it as a collaboration. You know, when I started with my son, it would be Nick and I choosing to do things together. And that was kind of the point, that it was dedicated time every day that we were doing something together. Mm-hmm. Because as we know as parents, even that's a challenge these days with our kids. So, you know, and we've now implemented 365 Give. We call it the 365 Give Challenge into schools. And what we really say to the educators is, first of all, let the kids choose. We want the kids to feel empowered and how they choose their daily gives every day. Mm-hmm. And we also say, do it as a classroom. Because when the kids have a lot of ideas together, there's a great education and process into deciding, out of 20 ideas that we have, what is it that we're going to do? And where do we want to make an impact? Do we want to impact animals? Do we want to impact the planet? Do we want to impact people in our community? And so the really neat thing about doing it both individually and coming up with ideas and then working it together as a collaboration is there's a great learning process in this.
Through all that. So what are some other ways that you explained how teachers and schools can get involved? What are some other ways that parents can get involved?
Well, for parents, to me, it's as simple as walking down the street. I think most parents are out and about with their children. And obviously, since I have 3 boys, the sooner I get them out the door every day, the better. And so we literally, when we walk out the door, and my 3 boys, and my youngest is just 5 right now, and Nick, who's in the TED Talk, he's now 9. And so everywhere we go, we pick up garbage. It's that simple. We always make sure we've got a little bag with us, and it's not that we pick up every single piece of garbage, but we make a very concerted effort to make sure we're always picking up garbage no matter where we are. Mm-hmm. But then we find things, and especially in families, and I find this in our family, is it could be as something as simple, especially with little ones, as when they share their snack with their brother, when they share their toys, when they give their brother hugs. It's the really simple things that when you started as a family, they take it with them out into their day. And so they take it into school with them. And they carry we call it at home when one brother is nice to another brother, we call it, you did your 365 for the day, or you did your 365 gift for the day, because it keeps planting this idea in their brain that every time they go out into the world, they have the opportunity to do their 365 gift for the day. It was as simple as yesterday as, somebody had left during a play date, had left one of their toys at the house. So I sent one of my kids down the street to go return the toy back to their friend. He said, "Oh, Mommy, that's going to be my 365 gift today. I'll do it," and very happily go on their way without any fight or struggles or complaints to just go back and do something nice for their friend.
So you're seeing your sons really looking for ways to make these kind of to have their 365 give for the day. They're actually going out of their way and trying to find out what they can do. It's got to be a little exciting for them.
Well, every time it's really when they identify it, that's when it really is exciting for both them and for me. When they identify what we can do, and it can. Some of the other things we do, and that's our gardening at home, or that's filling our bird feeder to help the wildlife, or it's going down to our local animal shelter and donating dog biscuits or blankets that we may have. They really feel empowered, and they feel like they're making a contribution back to something bigger than themselves. Part of the problem with, and I would say it's children, but I would say it's so many of us in the world right now, is it's hard for us to get outside of our own wants and needs and have-tos and, have to have this and have to have that. And it really takes them out of their worlds and makes them realize that the world's a little bigger place, and that there's lots of things, and whether that be our planet or animals or the people, that have bigger needs than possibly that they need the next best fidget spinner potentially, or whatever other gadget or toy is that they can't live without that day.
It really does shift the perspective. So It's not so focused on what like how you're saying, like, oh, what's the new gadget or game or what have you. They're looking more as like, how can I make an impact? And when I'm just so impressed with it, what you're teaching and implementing in their lives, and they're just picking it up and running with it.
Well, and they do. And it's like, I say this to educators a lot, or to other families as well, is, we have to, it's like teaching a child their numbers or letters. They don't learn to count to 10 the first time they say it. Mm-hmm. It has to be repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. And then usually by the time they're 4 or 5 years old, there's, counting to 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. And same with their letters when they're learning the alphabet at school. It has to be a repeated behavior. It's something that becomes a daily practice. And we say this just like brushing your teeth. And it has to be done again and again and again on a regular basis, so that it just becomes part of your brain. It's just a natural habit that you will look for in your life.
So how are different communities using 365 Give?
This is the really interesting part about the TED Talk and how we're now seeing it being implemented and wanting it to be implemented in different areas of the world in different levels. And obviously the TED Talk is meant for more of an adult audience versus a children's audience. Mm-hmm. But we just launched our first 365 Give challenge at a school in Rome and also one in India. And one of the things that amazes us are the ability to cross barriers in both cultural barriers and language barriers. And the kids are actually doing the same thing. I just got a note from our school in India that the kids sat down and did notes of gratitude to special people in their life to thank them for what they're bringing into their life. And we have kids here right in Vancouver doing the same thing. When they go to school, which is really neat. But we've also had companies now reach out to us who want to see how they can integrate a daily giving practice right into their company. And so I'm working with different companies right now and how that philosophy can be integrated right into their company's strategies for their employees. And we're also seeing it in communities that they want to bring it in as a community a community initiative as well, where they'll bring their whole town together. And we've actually done what we call Big Give Days, and they're big 365 Give Days, where it's an interactive day, and it can be done with a school or with an entire community, where you try and in a day complete 365 daily gives. 365 gives in a day. Where you're giving back to the community in groups and reaching out to whether it's fire departments. We've had cookies delivered to bus drivers. We've had so many different ways that communities have been able to reach out in large groups and actually go and complete hundreds of daily gives in a day.
Now, I know that aside from the companies that you're collaborating with, and I'm really excited to see where that's going to go. We'll be watching to kind of see that direction. You too, right?
Well, it's going to be a new initiative for us, reaching out. We've had a number of companies reach out to us now. So yes, it's going to be really, we're a small grassroots charitable organization. So all of these new reaches for us are really exciting, and we're looking forward to seeing how people will take it and run with it.
So where do you, aside from the companies, and you're doing these wonderful programs with communities and schools and parents, are you envisioning that there'll be chapters going forward, or at some point, or other ways that communities can kind of come more together?
Yeah, well, we're actually in the phase right now of creating a new interactive website, and it's going to give people the ability to basically join 365 Give and to become a member. And so that can be as a family, as an individual, as a company, or a school. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have the ability to start tracking and inspiring each other directly on the website with our daily giving activities. So when you sign up to become a member, you're going to be able to literally put a badge on our globe where your daily giving is happening. Because what we really want to do is show the world is when we come together on a map and we start sharing our daily giving stories, because that's a bit of our concept, is that when you give and you share it, it creates the ripple. So we want to physically show people how this ripple is going to be happening around the world and give people resources that they'll be able to use for daily giving ideas and to start inspiring each other with sharing their stories.
Well, I think it's so important, too, because a lot of times people will say, like how we were talking earlier, that they want to do something, they want to make an impact, but they just don't know how to do it. And so by having the ideas like, well, you can, do something that impacts either like animal rights or, maybe your neighbors, whatever the case is, you can give them ideas on what it is that they can go forward and do.
Yeah, I think it's a big part to it, and I think that having everybody, and even if that's volunteering for another organization, we look at 365 Give as the umbrella for all of it, mm-hmm. and for people just to come together and really bringing what they're doing, because people ask us all the time, well, what are some of the things that we can do? And, I want to hear what they're doing in India. I want to see what they're doing in Italy. I want to, understand the different and interesting ways that people can look at their world and say, okay, I had a great message from somebody last week, and they decided they wanted to reuse some of their Tupperware and plasticware that they had. So they actually packed some lunches for some homeless people, and they took and reused their plastics and went and delivered lunches and waters to some people on the street, which I thought was such a great idea of way to reuse, repurpose, and then go and feed people at the same time. Like, it was remarkable. So I'm always inspired when I hear other people's stories and the creative things that they do to come up to make their own, impact on the world.
Well, I'm sure it also helps when you have so many, wonderful and creative minds that are also giving this input, like you're saying. So it could be like, wow, that's a great idea. We need to list that as something that you can do for your community going forward.
Completely and totally. We have a lot of daily giving ideas on our page now, and our website is up and going, but it's the old version. The new version won't be up till September. But the more that we can add to that, and it will be as simple as clicking on a badge on our New World map that we're going to have, so that you can get ideas from anyone that has posted from anywhere in the world.
So, and this, of course, brings me to my next question. So is there a book in the works with all of this?
It was actually really interesting, because shortly after the TED Talk came out, I had a publishing company from the U.S. reach out to us about a book. So we're underway with lots of really big ideas. If I had, another 300 set of hands, I'd probably be in pretty good shape.
Oh, yeah. It's not like you're not already busy enough as it is, right?
Exactly. As I said, we're a very small grassroots organization. We're a small grassroots organization with a lot of ideas, and, with the support of people, and when we get our funding into place that we're going to need, we have so many brilliant ideas that we want to share with people, and that includes a number of books that go along with this. We're in the middle of, right now, working on some really fun animated characters that are going to go along with this. But we have lots of big plans in the works, and as the funding comes in, hopefully all of these will get to come into play and work for us.
Well, and I'm sure it'll all happen in perfect timing. I mean, my goodness, you're a mother of 3 boys. You're busy enough as it is,
Well, my exciting part for September is that all my boys will actually be in full-time school. So that's where I'm really excited that I'll have a little bit more time to dedicate to 365 Give and keep growing what we've been working so hard to grow with the TED Talk.
I'm sure having being able to work on that message a little bit more while they're getting furthering their education.
Exactly. That would be the goal.
Well, you have to stay in touch when your books, whatever.
Exactly.
One, I could see more than one for you easily. But when that does come to fruition, please reach back out. We'd love to have you back on the show and talk about that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and real quick before we get going, where can our listeners connect with you, be part of your community, and also, of course, donate if they're unable to get involved personally? They can still donate. That helps kind of move things along.
Well, you can, our website is www.365give.ca. And we are on Twitter, and we're on Facebook, and we are on Instagram. They can reach out to us there as well. All our handles there are at 365give, so we're pretty easy to find. And we love to hear from people, so please feel free to reach out via any of those sources of media. And yes, absolutely, you can make donations directly online through our website. And we always appreciate and value every dollar that's donated to 365 Give.
Oh, well, Jacqueline, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us today.
Well, thank you. And we really, just honored to be with you here. And thank you so much for continuing to spread our message. We really appreciate the support.
Well, thank you, Jacqueline. It's been such a joy to have you here. We are going to pause here for a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 1-2-3 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074. 630-881-1074.
This is Jennifer McGill. My highly anticipated new album, Unbreakable, is now available at jennifermcgill.com. Everything from power ballads to high-energy jam-out-in-your-car songs. I used my highest joys and deepest pains to create empowering songs of love, strength, healing, and restoration so that you can be unbreakable too. Get your copy of Unbreakable today from jennifermcgill.com. Because who doesn't want to be unbreakable?
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. Our next guest is here today to talk to us about a topic that can be, a little elusive sometimes. Elliot Katz is here today to talk to us about being the strong man a woman wants. So welcome to the show, Elliot.
Great to be here.
What a joy it is to have you here, Elliot. So how did you even get started on this path of knowing what women want from a man?
It's a good question. So I was married for 10 years, and then I got divorced. And like a lot of people, at first I blamed the other person. And then I came to the point of asking myself, what do I have to learn from all this? And this book was really the result of this journey. I started talking to other men and listening to them. And the more I listened, the more I realized a lot of us are confused about what is our role as a husband, as a father, as a boyfriend, and what is our role in a relationship with a woman. Then I started reading books on relationships. I read a whole pile of them, and they really didn't say anything to me about what it means to be a man in a relationship. And it was then I turned to the teachings and writings that over the generations and the centuries that older men taught younger men about being a man. Fathers or other older male role models would teach younger men about what it means to be a man. And I was blown away because what I learned coincided with what I heard women complain is lacking in men today. They don't show leadership, they don't make decisions, they don't take responsibility. There's this giant disconnect between all the things that, men have heard that they're supposed to be and what women really want. And, we hear today people talking about masculine confusion and a masculinity crisis. Well, I think this is what it is. It's like men have heard all these things. They think, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be. And then women are very frustrated and fed up with these men who won't show any leadership, who think they're being the nicest guys, who think, oh, I don't want to be controlling. I'll just let her make all the decisions, and I'm the nicest guy. And they can't understand why women are fed up and frustrated with them.
Well, and I think it's just gotten to a point, especially with women having to take on so many roles, that it's, and, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the expert on this, but with women, having to take over so many roles, maybe we're kind of feeling a little overwhelmed,
Absolutely. Women have really made a lot of progress in business and professions, but I've talked to a lot of women who are successful in business and professions, and they say, I may be a boss at work, but I'm with a man, I want to feel like a woman. And what women tell me is very overwhelming is, I've heard men say they think they're being great husbands, they work hard all day to bring in an income, then they come home and they're asked their wives, what should I do? What should I do to help? And they I'm being involved, I'm participating, I'm helping out. And they don't realize that a woman really doesn't want to have to tell a man what to do. It makes her feel like he's a child and she is his mother.
Oh, who wants that, right?
Right. It says she really wants a man who's aware of what's going on in their home, comes home, knows what's going on, sees the situations that need to be dealt with, steps forward and deals with them. A man who just always asks his wife what to do, it's very frustrating to her. It's really interesting that if you look at statistics, the last statistics I saw were like 70% of divorces are initiated by the woman. And, I've met a lot of divorced men, and really, a lot of them think, I was a decent person. I don't know why my wife divorced me. I don't really understand. And until they realize, well, you just were trying to please her. You just wanted to do whatever she wanted. I mean, it's good to do what she wants, but, you weren't showing that share of leadership that she really looks to you as a man. She wants a man who's a rock, who's someone she can lean on. She doesn't want a man who keeps asking her what to do.
Yeah, because then just from my standpoint, it's like when, I'm in a relationship, I really do want the man not to be controlling, but to, take control of situations. I want to be asked all the time, like, what do you want to do? Or where should we go? I want him to also play a part in the relationship and come up with suggestions and ideas.
Exactly. That's exactly what I tell men, Marianne. Stop asking what. No, it's like, I couldn't count the number of single women who would tell me when a man asks them out to go for a cup of coffee, he can't even choose a place where to go. And then when they finally get to a place, he says, so where would like to sit? He can't even choose a place to sit. It's like, to her, it's like, well, how would this guy handle the challenges that come with family life, with marriage and children? It's a big turnoff. And you're right, a woman doesn't want a controlling man. But she doesn't want a man who just can't make any decisions. Is always looking to her. She wants a man with a plan. That's what women have told me. A man with a plan. When he asks her out, be a man with a plan. If she doesn't like your plan, if you're inviting her to go to a fish restaurant and she has an anaphylactic reaction to the smell of fish, she'll tell you. But don't just say, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What time should I pick you up? No, show that you can show leadership in that way. And really, it's the same like in a family situation. She doesn't want a controlling tyrant, but when there's a situation that needs to be dealt with, she really respects a man who says, oh, I see this situation, I've come up with a solution, this is what I think we should do. And she says, well, I don't think it's a good idea, and she can point out faults. Well, that's the great part of having a partner. But she doesn't want you always say, what should I do? What should I do? Or just tell me what to do, I'll do it. It's very frustrating. It makes her feel like she's not really with a man. It makes her feel like he's one of the children.
Well, and I completely get that. I mean, I don't have any children, and at the same time, I don't want to start dating one either.
Exactly.
So, I do like someone that takes some initiative and can be that strong person. I think that a lot of women are looking for someone that can, take those, come up with solutions. What is, with all the work that you're doing, because I know you work with so many men and you're such an expert in this field, what are some of the common mistakes that you are seeing men make in a relationship?
Well, it's not, really the key thing is not showing leadership. Men will say, men will say, when a wife asks for input on a decision, the man will say, whatever you want, you decide. Thinks he's being this great guy. I know this fellow, I was at a wedding recently where the father of the groom, and I've heard this before, the father of the groom, gives a speech and says, my advice to you, my son, on a good marriage, yes, dear. Just say yes, dear. and so I'm friends with the father of the bride, actually, and now they've been married, almost a year, and they're having a lot of problems because, this fellow is like his father. Whatever there's a decision to be made, he says, whatever you want, you decide. And he can't understand that it's very frustrating to her, that she married him to be a man, to take charge, to show some leadership, not be controlling tyrant, have to make every decision. But, when she asks you for a decision, give your decision. Even like situations, and I've heard this so many times, husband's at work, he's working hard, the wife calls him, what would you like for supper? Chicken or fish? And he thinks, why is she calling me? I'm so busy. Can't you make a decision? Whatever you want, you decide. You're a great cook. And he doesn't understand why she's so frustrated with that. She asked you for your input on a decision because she wants it. Don't deprive her. If it's an easy decision, just make it. Just say chicken, fish, whatever. Just make the decision. And really, that's women really like that. They want a man who, someone they can look up to. A lot of men today will tell me that, they feel women don't respect them, and they think I'm a decent person. I'm a good guy. Why are they don't respect me? And I said, that's why. Because she wants you to take leadership. She wants you. I was just talking to a fellow who's going through a divorce. He's saying to me, he's an easygoing guy. He just lets other people make the decisions because he wants to show how easygoing he is. I said, it's very nice. You think, and I thought that way too. But it's very frustrating to your wife to be with a man who won't make any decisions. It's very frustrating. And the other thing that's very frustrating for him is a man won't take responsibility. He thinks, if she wants something a certain way, and even though he thinks, this is wrong, this is a mistake, but she pushes him into it, and they do it, and it turns out to be wrong, just like he thought it would. Then he can blame her. Then he can say, he's the victim. I went along with you, and it was wrong, just like I thought it would. And the woman gets very frustrated because if he thought it was wrong, she expects him to step forward and say, well, no, it's not a good idea to do this. We're not going to do it. She admires a man like that. If he says, well, this is why it's not a good thing to do, to just let it go wrong when you know it's going to go wrong, and then blame her. And then men can't understand why nobody has any sympathy for them. I met a fellow when I was getting divorced. He told me, we were talking, we had so many things in common. We were wallowing in our mutual victimhood until he says that his wife ran up $50,000 on the credit cards. And it really shocked me. And I said, how could you let that go on? You have children. Here he was presenting himself as the victim of his wife, but I didn't feel that. It's not, you're responsible. How could you let this go on? And then that really, for me, was a turning point because it made me realize, how could I let the things that I let go on? And it really, take responsibility. Don't blame your wife. It alienates her. It gets her frustrated with you, and nobody has any sympathy for you, and it doesn't help. It just makes things worse. If there's a problem, if something is wrong, even though we believe in gender equality, we still expect that a man, if he sees something is wrong, he won't allow it to go on because we're really ultimately holding him responsible.
Well, and I think there's a lot to everything that you're saying. Just in the relationships I've been in the past and friends that I know that have been married, maybe, that are still married and ones that have been married and gotten divorced, there seems to be a common thread in some of the complaints that are heard just across with women and some of the things that they get frustrated with. And that's why I was so impressed that it's like, hey, here's a guy going out and figuring all of this out so that we can have a better understanding of all this. So how important, I know one of the major complaints is he's never listening to me. I don't feel like I'm being heard. Do you get that often?
From women, yes, they want to feel heard, because men like to talk about themselves and don't listen enough. That's I talk about that in the book. Listen to what she's saying and respond to what she's saying. Don't just, men are very achievement oriented, and they like to share their achievements with a woman to impress her. They feel it, which is very nice, but make the effort to listen to what she's saying. I've had divorced men say to me that if they had, read this book while they were still married, they'd still be married. It's all the things that, men are, when a marriage is going, south, and there's a lot of trouble in marriage, a man's trying to save his marriage, they go to counseling, all this, but no one really tells them. He's looking for answers, and I was too, but no one really tells them these things about this is what a man's job is. Like, listen to your wife. Listen to what she's saying. Respond to what she's saying. Don't just talk about yourself. It's part of being a leader is listening to the people, around you. It's very important.
Well, and women do want, men to ultimately take that leadership role in the relationship. They don't always, like how you were saying when we first started the interview, here when we first started our chat, is that they don't want to have to be the boss at work and then come home and have to wear that hat again at home.
Exactly.
Well, and so, I know you've got lots of people that come to you in regards to, working on their marriage and also with the book. Now, do you do personalized counseling? Do you have people really kind of just read your book and work through there? How can people work with you?
Well, I do work one-on-one with people. It's good to start by reading the book, but people have approached me. It's very rewarding to see, it can really make a difference. People have said to me, the book and saved their marriage. It's wonderful to hear that. I've worked with all kinds of men who are just, because what we hear, like I said right at the beginning, all the messages that men hear, it's so contrary. They're trying to do it and it doesn't work. So really, this is, and it's almost like, we can't handle. Well, this is what the teachings that fathers have taught for generations. Oh no, we have to reinvent everything. Well, no, there's a lot of wisdom that really helps men have good marriages with their wives. And there's no reason to see it as old-fashioned. If you read the book, like, it's a story about a grandfather teaching this to his grandson, and the first grandson says, well, I thought it was old-fashioned, but it actually worked. That's really, it's wisdom that has withstood the test of time. So if people want to contact me, they can approach me through my website and email me. I'd be happy to talk to them on the phone or however they want to do it. It's been very rewarding. I think one person I worked with, he was estranged from his daughter. I said, you've got to be more of a father. Like, she's in this situation. You've got to step forward and help her out of this situation. She was dropped out of school. She was staying up all night. He said, you got to step forward and help her and get her out of this situation. And you'll be a hero to her. And that's what happened. And now they've become very close. So it's just there's a lot of good wisdom out there. And if people want to contact me, please, go ahead. I'm happy to talk to people.
Well, and I think that's important to discuss because I feel like, there's a lot of people that are going, gosh, I want this to work. It's a great relationship, but just things have fizzled out. So I did want to kind of touch on that a little bit. But, so what are some of the top things that men should know, like right now, to kind of switch things around?
Like I say, the most important thing is realize your role is to be a leader in the family, and think about what's going on in your home. Know what's going on. Be aware of what's going on. Don't just leave everything to your wife. Know what the problems are. Know what the situations are. Don't just expect her to do everything or expect her to tell you to do everything. You always hear women complain. I have to even tell them to take out the garbage. And I always wonder, well, so what? Like, you remind him, take out the garbage, because she wants you to know it reflects that you're not aware of what needs to be done at home. Mm-hmm. Be aware of what needs to be done. You don't have to do everything. It's about just show that leadership. Like, apportion the workload. Like, okay, I'll work on this. Just help me and do this part. It really works. As long as you're stepping forward and being a man. Like, because really, that's what women want. You hear it over and over. Like, like you were saying about single women not being able to find someone. I've had so many women, like, in their 40s and 50s who never married. And they say, well, the men today, they're too feminized. I want a man who's a rock that I could lean on. I want a man I could look up to and respect. And they haven't found it. So really that's what they want. They want a man. And then on the other side, men say women don't respect them. So
mm-hmm.
That's what it is. She wants to respect you for being a leader, for being strong and stepping forward, not controlling, but not always saying, whatever you want, or, or not asking her out and saying, okay, you plan the date. Tell me what time to pick you up.
Well, hey, if that's the case, then we just go out with our girlfriends, and they usually have everything squared away.
Exactly. That's exactly what the situation is. They feel like they could just go with their girlfriends because he's acting like a girlfriend. And the same thing, you hear men say, I like this woman, but she said, let's just be friends. And that's why, because you're acting like one of her girlfriends.
Well, and I can understand that because, I think a lot of times too, when women have to take on such strong roles at work, sometimes we want to come home and let our hair down. We don't want to have to be always in charge, and always making decisions and doing all that. So it's nice to have that balance. And I think, like how we were kind of discussing a little bit here, there gets that breakdown of communication where the man doesn't step forward and take some initiative. Because like how you were pointing out earlier, like noticing that she has to ask him to take the trash out is actually representation of a bigger issue, and that's the lack of being present in the relationship.
Exactly. That's, years ago I always wonder, why do women complain about it? It's not such a big thing, but it reflects that he's not aware of what needs to be done. And to the man, you really, to say, well, look, I work hard all day. I come home, I'm exhausted. Why are you, like, I get attacked with all these things when I walk in the door. Do this. And that's the man's perspective. So I tell these men, I said, just like you work hard because you want to provide a nice life for your family, you have to save some energy to come home and be a leader at home for the same reason, because you want your family to have a nice life. There's no point making a lot of money and then, having a divorce and, children from a broken home. A lot of men who did that, who worked hard, and I know them, like, they worked very hard, and they really wanted the best. They really thought they were doing the good thing, and then they end up divorced and, being a visitor in their kids' lives. I said, But they realized, well, that wasn't everything. You have to be part of showing leadership at home. It saves some of that energy and come home and show that your share of leadership.
So is having like strong role models, strong male role models important for men who are looking to make these kind of shifts in relationships so they don't, they don't go all the way over to one side of being massively controlling, or, they kind of get the gist of what is really kind of what's required to have that relationship that, the couple's looking for.
Exactly, and that's one of the causes underlying why so many men are confused about their roles, because they didn't have strong male role models. A lot of them didn't have any male role models. They grew up in families with no father, or either they're divorced or their father worked long hours, and they go to school. All the teachers are women. They watch television. The men are portrayed as buffoons. Like, where is today's young man to get an idea of a proper role model of a man? So absolutely. So one thing I say in the book is, look for men who are good role models and watch them and become friends with them and watch how they do things. I mean, we learn anything that way. We watch people who are good at it. So watch a man who is showing that leadership. I know sometimes, and I felt this, like men who are like that, I felt uncomfortable with them. I thought, well, that's not the right way. But then I thought, gee, that they seem to be very successful at this. Their wives kind of like that they're stepping forward and taking charge and not just asking what to do. So absolutely, like, find a good role model. You know, I talk in the book about a lot of good ideas about how to become a leader. You know, if you can, take a look at the book. Tell me, write to me. Tell me what you think after you read it. It's absolutely. I mean, traditionally, was the role of a father, was to teach his son these things, and unfortunately, that's been lost.
Well, and I think in some ways, with women having to women taking such a role in the workplace, and sometimes they're wearing a lot of hats. They're having to be mother and caretaker and breadwinner, and then they come home and they have to cook and they're teaching, and there's all sorts of things going on. I think the roles in some ways have gotten a little bit confused. It's like for men, it's like, okay, well, am I supposed to be sensitive, or am I just supposed to be like a strong guy? Or I think they get confused on what it is that is expected of them in a relationship.
Absolutely. I was once interviewed on a radio show, and this fellow asked me, he says, when a man cries, is that a sign of strength? I said, well, it depends. If you're going to your mother's funeral, yeah, you can cry. You lost someone you love who's an important person in your life. But if you come home from work every day crying because, people weren't nice to you, your wife, you may feel, I'm expressing my feelings, I'm being sensitive. Well, your wife may feel like, oh, like, what do I have here? I don't really have a man who I could lean on as a rock. If you're in a situation, you may be a very difficult situation, and you might want to cry, but you know what? Your wife is looking to you to be the rock to lean on. So you have to just, hold it in, control yourself. So, we're all confused about roles. The woman really wants you to be that strong person. She doesn't want you to, always be, express your feelings sometimes. Sometimes women will say, well, he doesn't express his feelings. He should express his feelings sometimes, but, someone who's every day coming home and, complaining about his life and telling his feelings on everything, it becomes too much.
I actually have a friend who's kind of going through that with her husband right now. He comes home and just unloads on her with like everything bad that's going on and how horrible things are. And it's really tough for her because when she tries to offer solutions, it's not like he wants solutions. He just wants to unload. And a lot of women, and she's kind of like, she's telling me she's at the point where she's like, doesn't know how much longer she can take it, which is unfortunate because they're both really good people,
Exactly. That's what happens. So the man has to realize, I'm the leader. We look up to people who are leaders who are can put aside their feelings and be strong and do what's best. He should be coming home and doing what's best for the family and really putting his feelings aside and not talking to his wife about it. Maybe he should talk, to a male friend about it, because a woman wants to feel the man strong, and if he's always complaining about all these things, it makes her feel like, well, like I said, is he my rock? Well, he's got to put it aside.
Well, and tell me, in your experience, what you think and what you've experienced. I've heard a lot of times that women want to feel like they're safe and secure with the man that they're with, and that that person is somebody that they can count on. And so when those are kind of the things that women are looking for, it's hard for a man, I guess, to always fit those roles, showing his emotions and feelings, but there's sometimes maybe he needs to share that with the guys.
Absolutely. A woman wants to feel safe and secure, that she could depend on him. And men, this is really a conversation to have with other men who can give it, maybe, they talk about men not having a lot of friends. You need to have friends that you can talk to get their input on maybe how you can solve your problems at work. It started really coming down to all these things that, when a man is not showing strength, is not showing leadership, a woman gets very frustrated with him and she loses respect for him. And this is, I believe, like an underlying cause of like so much divorce, that women are just, like so many women I've talked to, they just were frustrated with him. They were fed up. They'll say things like, if my husband had understood these truths about showing leadership, making decisions, taking responsibility, our marriage of many years would not have disintegrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt. Well, Elliot, thank you so much for taking the time and being on the show with us today and sharing your wisdom. I mean, my goodness. I could see why your book is, it's Being the Strong Man a Woman Wants, Timeless Wisdom on Being a Man. I can see why it's timeless wisdom, because it doesn't matter if you're talking to people of Generation X or millennials. It's the same thing across the board that makes for a viable and healthy relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Initially when I wrote the book, it was for myself, then for my friends, and I thought it was a North American phenomenon. But the book's been translated to 24 languages in Europe, Asia, Latin America, and Africa. And when that happened, I realized this is really human nature. This is the nature of men, that they need to learn these things. It doesn't come naturally to them. That's my mission, to educate the men of the world and change them. And, hopefully women will be less frustrated. There'll be less divorce, less children from broken homes. That's my goal. So if people want to get the book, they can get it from, it's on Amazon.com as a paperback and as an ebook. And it's also an ebook on Kobo and iBooks. And they can get it in bookstores. And if it's sold out, just ask them and they'll order it for you and get it to you pretty quickly.
Oh. Well, thank you, Elliot, for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Well, that's the end of our time here today. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to tune in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.